Well, hello there folks, and how is it going? Welcome back to another video. And here we find ourselves in a beach. Well, at least we're going to find ourselves on a beach that's pretty close to where I live. I've been here before, so the eagle-eyed among you may notice the kind of rock formation that we're ultimately going to photograph from my first video where I talked about almost getting swept away. But that's this particular beach. It's an absolutely wonderful beach, Castillejo, I'm pretty sure it's called. I'll put the name somewhere, but probably will forget to do that. Where last week's video we talked about trying to photograph in clear blue skies. Today we're actually quite lucky because I don't know if you can see here, there's quite a bit of cloud in the sky, so we're absolutely jumping on board to try and take advantage of this opportunity to try and catch some of that nice golden light and color catching in the clouds. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it all materializes for us, and let's hit the beach and see what we can see. So, as I said, one of the main objectives today is to try and capture some light in the clouds. And oh wow, look at that, it's absolutely gorgeous looking. Last week's video I talked about wanting to try and capture some of this kind of dramatic, slow shutter speed kind of receding water in the foreground. It didn't really materialize as much as I would have liked. While I'm happy with last week and all of that kind of fun stuff, here I'm absolutely going to try my best to try and capture that nice kind of foreground element of the receding water using this lovely sea stack that we'll get to in just a moment as the kind of main focal point of the image. So let's get to it. Let's have some fun because it looks gorgeous. So another thing to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is your tripod. Professional, I'm a professional, I swear. So I was halfway down and realized I left the tripod in the van. So let's quickly go back and get that and then hit the beach. So folks, have a look at this absolutely marvelous scene we're looking at here. The light is just so beautiful. We've got about maybe 50 minutes before the sunset, so it's just casting this absolutely gorgeous golden light. And you can see here this rock formation that's behind me here, again where I was capturing that previous photograph that was mentioned in the first video, which I'll maybe leave a link to. I can actually use that as an excuse to leave one of the cards in the top corner. So there you go. But it's an absolutely wonderful spot. I've been here a good few times taking photographs. And as you can see here, the clouds really seem to be lingering. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We're going to head down a bit closer. Holy moly, there's some bashes down there. So hopefully I don't get swept away tonight. I'm going to be very, very mindful this evening. I kind of have a composition in mind. What we're ultimately looking to try and achieve is to create layers leading to this big rock formation that you can see here. As the tide, it's kind of still a little bit high. It is going out at the moment. So as the tide recedes, it will expose a lot of rocks that we can use as nice foreground and midground and leave this big fella standing in the background. Maybe if we can, if the cloud breaks along the horizon, we might catch one of those nice sun flares as well. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Plenty to look for, plenty to explore, and excited. Let's do it. Well, there is some serious action going on over here. I really hope you can see it. I'm going to shoot some B-roll here with my main camera, and I really hope you can see it. Some serious crashes going on just at the end of this rock formation here. So I think maybe we'll set up. I've got set up on a tripod. I'm going to set it up and let's make this one of our first pictures. It's absolutely fantastic looking and it's catching such beautiful light. So let's shoot away. Let's shoot away. Now I did say I'm gonna be super mindful about the tides, and as I say, I do know that it is on the way out, but I'm gonna creep ever so slightly closer because I want to try and eliminate some of this empty space that's in the foreground here. I'm catching just that last bit of sand at the bottom part of the frame, and I really do want to try and eliminate that, so it's just this encroaching water and then this crashing happening out the back. So let's inch our way up a bit, super careful and super mindful. So let's do it. You know, one thing I'm after doing is turning on the crop mode. I foolishly, you know, you think to yourself, oh yeah, I'm not going to need the 100 to 400, and then you come out and it's like, oh my god, I wish I had the 100 to 400. So I've got my Tamron 28 to 75, and I've turned on the crop sensor mode. I don't mind doing any of that. I know you're losing some megapixels, but for the extra tiny bit of reach that I'm getting, it's really helping me focus in on this particular frame. So yeah, don't be afraid to lose a few megapixels for a frame, because let's be honest, most of the people that ever see any pictures are looking at them on tiny little phones, so it really is not going to make too much of a difference. Crop sensor, zoomed in, nice kind of frame we got going on over here. It's catching the light just so wonderfully. So let's continue shooting on, and let's get to it. So as you join me in my ASMR photography booth, we find ourselves looking upon this absolutely incredible image. This is one of the still frames from that rapid succession of images that you would have seen just a moment ago, and I am calling it the Rise of Poseidon. I had no idea I was going to capture anything that was going to be this impactful, and looking at the image now, I am absolutely blown away at this notion of seeing this figure emerge from the depths of the sea to hammer down on this sea stack and catching the side light so beautifully. This is an image I shall not soon forget. Well folks, I found a nice composition here. I'm not going to linger too long because every so often the surge comes up a bit, but it's a really nice, simple, centered composition. I'll pop it up on the screen for you here now. There's not a huge amount going on in terms of like crazy water or anything, but it's just a really nice composition. You got the rock in the foreground, and then a nice reflection, and then the sea stack, the main focal point. I have focus stacked, one for the rock, one for the midground, and then one for the main sea stack in the background. So really happy with that. There's some nice 1, 2, 3 kind of action going on here. So let's wander down there and see if we can take advantage of that before the sun gets behind. I think there's a bank of cloud going to happen here, so let's move quick. Wow, super duper happy with how this is turning out. We were not getting unfortunately there's a big bank of cloud that the sun has gone behind, but it's catching just such a gorgeous outline of the cloud, and the remaining clouds in the sky are really starting to catch a nice bit of color. So I am exposure bracketing because the dynamic range here is just so large, and what I'm going to do now is just capture a few images of the water as it kind of pulls away, because it's coming in now, and the idea is to try and get some images as the water recedes and hope one of them works. So it's pretty intense. So the idea then is to blend all of these images together. Oh, the buffer. And the idea then is to blend all of these images together and see if one of them works. But wow, holy moly, it's absolutely crazy. It's as you can see, I'll turn here. I hope you can see it, but it's really strong today. As I say, thankfully the tide is on its way out, but we have to be again super mindful. I'll show you here the camera. So this is essentially kind of what we're looking at. As you can imagine, we'll exposure bracket for the highlights and the dynamic range, and then we'll try use one of those frames at the as the tide is rushing in and rushing out. We'll try pick the best one and blend all of this together to create this really dynamic, powerful scene. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But I'm going to move back a little bit because it's as I say, it's pretty intense.
So here's the final result of the image that we were just looking at. I am super happy with how it all turned out. And one thing that strikes me most is the juxtaposition between the calm of the left and the chaotic energy of the right. The wonderful kick of golden light adds such a dynamism to the whole scene, using the encroaching waves to create a leading line that takes us all the way through the frame to the big sea stack and the main focal point of the image. So beautifully captured, if I do say so myself.
Wow, what an absolutely gorgeous evening. I really hope these pictures work because the sun is just creating these really lovely rays behind the clouds, so it's really dynamic. I did find another composition just over here, and now I'm looking at this here. Forgive me for not recording any video for those last couple of images. As I say, it's pretty wild, but the light is just catching in the clouds. I really hope you can see that. Maybe I'll fire off a small bit of B-roll, and I really hope you can see this because it's absolutely wonderful. It's such a wonderful scene, and for good reason. I come back here many times because as the tide goes out and comes in, it just presents these wonderful opportunities to create these ebb and flow images that just convey the power of the Atlantic. It's really wonderful, and I'm super thrilled. It was very last minute for me to come out. As I say, when I seen the clouds, I thought, you know what, let's roll. So I'm super duper happy that I came out, and wow. So yeah, let's keep going.
The image that I actually had framed up from that last piece de camera didn't actually work out. There was just something about it that didn't really stand out to me. But this is the image that I captured when I didn't record any piece de camera. But as you can see, it's just another example of what you can do using water to create lines and contrast in your frames. And of course, God rays that are beaming from behind the clouds just add this absolutely wonderful kick of light to the upper half of the image. Maybe not the strongest compositionally, but a good exercise in technique, and sure, who we kidding? It's always great to capture as many images as you can on such a wonderful evening as this was.
So I think I found my last composition for this evening. It's quite a nice central portrait orientation. You know, one of the things that I suppose I will try and impart is that if you're in a situation like this where you've got water going on, you want to set your camera to continuous high, because it's always better just to keep your finger down and rattle off image after image after image while the water is either coming in or going out. You have plenty of scope then to pick the best one that creates that kind of line or that contrast that you're really looking for to draw the eye through the frame. So I hope you can see we're filming here, or we're photographing here, so the water's coming in. So I'm just going to rattle off. I've essentially just got my finger down on the shutter, and we're firing off loads of pictures. So let's hope we don't get washed away, eh? Another little tip you can do is that if you find yourself with some exposed rock down here, it's always good to put the tripod down on the rocks, and that way the tripod is not going to sink as the water is coming in or going out. So yeah, let's fire away and hope we don't get washed away. Oh my God, there's so much going on. It's always a handy little tip as well to capture a darker exposure for the highlights. Even though we're rattling off loads of images, I'm at about 1/8 of a second. So it's always nice to capture a darker frame just so you've got those highlights secure and in the bag. But I think for now we'll call it a day. As you can see here, there's just so much going on in the frame. It's really gorgeous, absolutely wonderful. So, but anyways, let's I think we should probably pack up. Our look can only last so long.
So here's the final result of the image that we had framed up. Unbeknownst to myself, they have all been in portrait orientation, and I am slowly becoming a seascape photographer more than any other genre, because this is absolutely perfect. As mentioned before, one of the wonderful things about photographing the ocean is that every single image is absolutely unique and will never be captured again, and this image is no exception. With wonderful lines and contrast that help draw the eye through the frame to the shadowy sea stack as the main focal point, and just this beautiful kick of golden light really adds to the overall feel of energy to this frame. I am super happy with how this one turned out, and maybe even one for a print.
Well, here we are, safe and sound, back at the van. Super duper delighted we came out this evening. As one of the things that I was really hoping me creating these videos would help push is for me to get out and take more images, and it's certainly paying in dividends when you get scenes like this. Just the last bit of that light that was catching on those big clouds was pure magic. Not a terribly educational video, but just a good adventure and a good seascape photography adventure. So I really hope you enjoyed it and like the images. Do absolutely feel free to like and subscribe and comment and share and all of those other things if you want to. No panic at all. Until then, I will see you on the next one. Not 100% too sure where we're going next, but it's going to be lovely, I'm sure. Maybe we might try catch a sunrise shoot, because there's a few spots in Lagos that I really do want to photograph. So maybe we'll try catch a sunrise. But until that, I will see you then, and enjoy your evening, folks. And yeah, have a good one. Take it easy.